welcome back to Sparky's Dream, a podcast about Manchester United. I'm your host, Lewie, and today we'll be unravelling the goings-on at Villa Park. Many have declared it a very good performance, which may be true under the circumstances, but ultimately we came away with nothing, showing some of our consistent frailties once again. So we'll have a look at who stood up, who switched off, and how United will need to set up now we've lost Bruno for at least a couple of games by the sounds of it. So United travelled to Villa Park on the back of a spirited yet ultimately disappointing draw against Bournemouth. Villa are absolutely flying. This turned out to be their 10th straight win in all competitions, 7th in the league, which puts them third at Christmas and just 3 points off the top from Arsenal. The home form has been exceptional too, proper kind of fortress territory. So seemingly it was an uphill battle for United from the off, especially now without our right-hand side, our main attacking threat. That being said, I don't want to get too heavy on stats and things from the off, but all the data showed that Villa have been massively overperforming during this run, not creating good, clear-cut chances, but seemingly being a lot more opportunistic. So in theory, there's a game plan right there, isn't it? Just be extra vigilant in our final thirds and around the box. Don't let them get any space around the box, which I guess lends itself to playing 5 defenders and Ugarte coming in for the suspended Casemiro. Although we adopted this setup, we did see a very positive in-possession application of it. United controlled possession around 57% and created 15 shots to Villa's 12, with an XG sitting close. Villa 1.54 to United's 1.33. Ugarte, for all his flaws, can cover more ground than Casemiro, I guess, so I think that this was an opportunity for Bruno to push a little bit further forward, knowing that Ugarte could potentially supplement the extra space left behind him. We did see a bit more of a fluid relationship between Bruno and Mason Mount, whether this was a tactical tweak from Amorim or just two kind of intelligent footballers grabbing the initiative remains to be seen. But we were finding space and we did look like we'd found another effective way of playing and creating chances despite losing Mbeumo and Ahmad. Yeah, possession and shot volume can disguise the truth, I guess. Villa's chances were kind of more concentrated and decisive, while United's came in spurts, punctured by miscues and an absence of kind of ruthlessness when it mattered. Knowing that Villa don't really create high XG chances, apart from early on when Heaven put in a great block, you'd think that United would have been more resilient at guarding the box, especially Rodgers, who was in an amazing kind of run of form. He's the one player that you absolutely do not afford that much space at the minute. Yoro's had a bit of a hammering over both goals in the press. It just acts as a reminder, like, for all his potential and how well he's been in parts this season, he's still learning his trade and he still has all the inconsistencies of a young player. There's no way he should be letting the Premier League's informed player to have that much space and time and then cut back onto a stronger side. That first goal reminded me of how Wan-Bissaka would sometimes be very relaxed in closing down opposition players in that position. More often than not, he'd see out the threat, but Yoro was just way too casual. Even from the initial pass when Rodgers struggled to control it, there was an opportunity there to see out that threat. I think Heaven, for example, would have at least attempted to put a challenge in that situation, but the more that passage of play unfolded, the worse it got for Yoro. I mean, by the time Rodgers drove into the box and got a shot away, Yoro was nowhere near him, certainly not close enough to put in a challenge. People are calling it an exceptional strike, etc. But if you give any Premier League player a free uncontested shot on goal like that, I'm sure most of them would fancy the chances. The most frustrating thing about the second was that it was a very similar situation, wasn't it? And Yoro again was pretty slow to react. I mean, first off, Dalot actually let Tielemans turn and get a cross in. I mean, there's no way you should be getting done by Tielemans there. It's the most telegraphed piece of play. We all know what he's going to try and do. Dalot surely knows what he's going to try and do. Yet he gets nowhere near him. He just lets him get the cross in. It's just that lack of aggression and assertive defending that's cost us once again. And as I said earlier, I'm sure Amin would have instilled that sense of urgency around the box prior to the game. It's that touch tightness that you get from De Ligt and Mazraoui, to be honest, that was missing. Their sharpness in that tackle, snuffing up the danger before it even begins. Just 2 really poor goals to concede. I know our structure does expose our wide centre-backs or even our wing-backs during one-to-ones, but both of these goals are definitely avoidable with a bit more of an aggressive presence. Senna Lamens made some good saves in the first half, denying John McGinn and then preventing Watkins from putting United into a deeper hole. He was, however, beaten by two decent finishes that would probably beat most keepers most days. Late sight lines, early curl, kind of top corner. I mean, not quite postage stamps, but enough to lessen his odds. You could argue that maybe his positioning should have been a bit better, but could the cover have narrowed down that lane earlier? I mean, definitely. And that's the bigger takeaway for me. Preventing the shot in the first place, denying the cut in, doubling up sooner, or force Rodgers wide for a cross rather than a shot. Credit where it's due, though. United did strike back immediately to level the score at 1-1. Patrick Dorgu punished Matty Cash for dithering in possession. He nicked the ball with a tackle pass combo that just rolled perfectly into Cunha's path, and he converted it with real assurance, to be fair. It was exactly what I'm sure Amorim and his coaches preach, like win it high, strike while defensive shape is distorted, and then just finish before the block can arrive. Cunha's performance deserves some credit. I had a quick scanner on the ratings, and there were multiple kind of platforms reporting him as one of United's best performers with ratings of like 8 out of 10. Central to everything good. But the script is cruel. I mean, he missed that free header in the second half from an excellent Dorgu delivery. That's the kind of chance that flips a narrative from kind of plucky defeat to well-deserved draw. Dorgu himself had a very positive game, I thought. He looked lively, smart in the press and positive on the ball. Exactly the profile United fans have been waiting to see at wing-back. I mean, exactly that type of turn-the-corner performance that we've been waiting for since his arrival. I mean, he's still raw. There were elements of that in his game still. And also, like, really frustratingly for me, there was more than one occasion that he just stopped playing. I mean, waiting for the referee to blow his whistle for a foul or something. But hopefully that is something that would be drilled into him from the coaching staff from year on in. I've noticed that Heaven has a tendency to do it too. It's just not a very good trait, is it? Arguably the biggest story of the game, though, came at half-time when it became apparent that Bruno Fernandes wasn't coming out for the second half after seemingly tweaking a hamstring during the first half. Reports since suggest that he could miss a spell, with some talk of at least a month, though United will wait on scans before putting dates on it. So what changes when Bruno leaves? I mean, tempo and that risk element. You lose our best player at threading passes between the lines, who forces compact defences to break up, who can also set pressing triggers by forcing teams into kind of emergency defending. In his absence, Mason Mount took the creative baton. I mean, he was busy and willing and had another good game in my opinion, but the team's passing profile just kind of shifted sideways. It was no longer him on the end of those penetrative through balls from Bruno. And although Cunha stepped up in the second half and took on more responsibilities, like picking the ball up deeper, his game is making more penetrative runs than passing between the lines. So we did always feel like a player short. Bruno's replacement was Lisandro Martinez, an atypical midfield cameo, one that's been suggested for many a season, got to be honest, me one of them. He took up residence in the centre circle and didn't really put a foot wrong in my opinion. We know he's calm on the ball and know he likes to play the ball forward and did so on many occasions during his cameo. He gave United kind of periodic control without too much penetration, but it only took 45 minutes to convince me that he's more valuable to us in there than Ugarte. It was a neat and tidy performance, but whether he can sustain the rigours of doing it week in, week out remains to be seen. Ugarte once again failed to impress. His game looks like he's completely gone, doesn't it? He was sloppy in possession, second best in duels. It just looked slow and sluggish when Villa were pressing. He offered very little bite. In fact, he was probably showing signs of being bitten himself by the end of the game. I mean, some outlets rated his performance as low as 3 out of 10, which is pretty damning. And we're certainly not a team who can sustainably carry performances like that, not even with a 3-man midfield. It seems like he's caught between carrying out kind of two versions of himself or that position. The screening number 6 and the hunting number 6. I'm sure it would suit his game if he chose just one of those from now on. I'm sure on his day in different leagues he's been capable of doing the two, but at United with Bruno as your sole midfield partner, I'm sure you'll have to choose just one, and that one should probably be the screening defensive midfielder. I wouldn't necessarily say Casemiro is just a screening midfielder. There's so many more positive attributes to his game. Although not elite when approaching the final third, he is capable of contributing an assist or a goal. Whereas Ugarte should probably just be used as a kind of spare body to kind of check the defence or at least be on the half turn ready for a counter if we give it away. I'm not sure where he goes from here. Is it too early to put him up for sale in January? I mean, who'll take him? I don't think he's cut out for Premier League football, which is odd considering the type of player he is or was meant to be. I just don't think he's strong enough. He gets bullied too easily and way too often. Luke Shaw had an even game, I thought. A pretty solid conductor in possession, but had a tough day with John McGinn. We have begun to see a little more of this season. He's always seemed to come out on top in a physical battle with an opponent in the past, but we've seen him coming out second best in a few duels this season. I mean, John McGinn is a strong guy, so you'd expect him to make it a contest and cause him some problems. But when Shaw got knocked off the ball, I think it was for Semenya's goal for Bournemouth, I remember thinking that just wouldn't have happened 18 months ago. But maybe that's the reason he's managed to remain injury-free this season. He's taken a bit of the physical edge off his game. He's still a good player. He's still been invaluable to us in that position so far this season because of all the injuries we've had there. But I just wonder if Leacher is back fully fit. Does he walk straight back into that side uncontested? I mean, let me know what you think in the comments down below. A little nod to Aiden Heaven. Obviously, he's really benefited from this run in the team. He put in another strong performance, I thought. One very important block early doors. I just like his aggression. How he's just going to make it so difficult for anyone to get past him. You know, expect flailing arms and elbows if you do. I think that's what Yoro's missing on that first goal. Not only the initial instinct to put the fire out, but also then to get tight and impose your physicality. He's also very useful on the ball, as we see in more and more. I'm as intrigued to see how this guy develops as much as anyone else in the squad, I think. Amorim suggested that the defeat was down to bad luck. Although we played well for the most part, it's maybe a little bit of a misdiagnosis, I think. United were just tactically edged out after Bruno's exit, and Villa implemented a pretty easy game plan, let United hold the ball in non-threatening zones, then kind of punishing defensive hesitations. Once again, we've shown that when we got most of the possession, we don't really know how to translate that into wins and draws. The coach's job now is to not debate the luck, is to reconfigure the attack and midfield and clean up the channel defending. I don't think that there's any scandal here. United lost to a top three side riding like they're on a historic run, but the post-game messaging once again has to come down to our own inconsistencies. There were some silver linings. Jack Fletcher and Shea Lacey made their senior debuts for Manchester United. The moment where the academy corridor opens onto the first team lane. For Lacey, included shots, even if it didn't really trouble Emi Martinez. But these minutes matter. I mean, not just for fairy tales or to keep the academy record ticking over, but because United's squad will need a depth of contributors over this crowded festive schedule and with the injuries landing at inconvenient times. Even Leacher in midfield was a functional experiment. I mean, he won't be our long-term number 6, but his calmness and forward passing kept United in shape. With Kobbie Mainoo reported to be out for a few weeks too, you could argue Martinez as a 6 is a temporary patch worth revisiting in very specific match states, especially with 2 games in 4 days coming up. So where does this leave United? I mean, 7th in the table at Christmas and 3 points off the congested Champions League spots. It's not a great chasm, but I'd say a pretty fair account of how we've been this year. Obviously, it's more frustrating as there have been many faltering teams around us all kind of vying for that same Champions League spots. But an 8-place swing to where we finished last year is obviously an improvement. The fixture list over Christmas always looks uncomfortable, questions of depth and clarity, but without Bruno, using Mount as a free 8 makes a lot of sense to me, especially if we're going to continue the experiment of 4-3-3 like we did with Bournemouth. Cunha will, I'm sure, will want to take on a lot more of the responsibility of the attack in play, but he would be better served staying higher up the pitch, I think, especially if we can find him with quick balls to feet in and around the box. That's why I'm thinking that Leacher may pick up a few more minutes in that central midfield position, because he's got an eye for that kind of pass, hasn't he? He can fire them into feet and over the top. I mean, we've seen him do it for central defence. Mood-wise, I don't think there's anything we need to overreact to with this one. I mean, Villa are on like an elite run and United were in the game pretty much until the end. That Cunha header will haunt us, but they will start going in, hopefully. The Bruno injury is a larger concern, though. If we find a solution for creativity in his absence, then I think the season remains in play. Okay, we leave it there for this week. Another patchy performance from United, but our good bits are now starting to look a bit better. The team as a whole is starting to look more cohesive going forward, but seemingly at the expense of our defence. Just one clean sheet all season, which suggests it's a bit more systemic rather than just missing De Ligt and Maguire. I'm not really sure when they're both set to return, but squad depth is going to be very important over the next few weeks. So how would you fill that Bruno and Kobe-shaped hole in our midfield for the next few games at least? Let me know and follow me across all socials at Sparky's Dream Pod. And if you're liking what you hear, please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. And of course, tell all of your fellow Reds. This has been Sparky's Dream. Football, music, united.